Welcome to this quick overview of making an impact via LinkedIn in order to change the world. Thanks for those who came along to my session, and to those who missed it, this is your opportunity to see what you missed and how LinkedIn can be used to change the world of your audience. So VIA, what does that stand for? So visibility, influence and authority are three things that you need to consider when using LinkedIn. It's a great platform to raise your visibility in the LinkedIn environment and in Google in order to influence your stakeholders, your ideal audience, the people that you want to make a difference with, and of course showcase the authority of your organization to help those people. So I'm Jo Saunders. I'm known as the LinkedIn demystifier. I love LinkedIn. I've been doing this for a good 9 or 10 years, working with people to help them understand how to use LinkedIn to make a difference, to increase visibility, earn influence, and establish authority in whatever it is you do. So LinkedIn, here we go. This is why you want to use it. It doesn't have to be boring. It can be fun. So let's look at some of the stats to start with. So it's the largest professional social network with 2 new members being added every second. And you have got a lot of people using it. People are increasingly using it to the point that 60% year-on-year growth of engagement. So this is where it's at. And it's a storytelling platform in its essence. Yes, sure, it's a professional resume online. It's a professional network. It's a way to build your personal brand. It's a search engine for people's companies, content. But it's the way to engage with your network, to stand out, to be visible, to tell stories. So if you take some time to firstly optimize your profile, you'll start getting some results as Ian did. We worked on his profile and he got an opportunity straight away that offset any of the effort. So it certainly was worthwhile for him, and it just continues to grow. So you want to make sure that you do put some time to LinkedIn, but it's not a type of platform that's going to, it's like a vortex. You're not going to spend too much time in it. So we start with the profile because your profile is pretty much the equivalent of your brand. So your personal brand is what other people say when you're not in the room. But the room now has gone digital. So it's not just what people are saying about you. It's about what they're finding about you online. And LinkedIn is indexed by Google, which means you can influence what people think about you by the content you put out there, by the way you position yourself. So the first bit of homework was to Google yourself. Find out what's coming up for your name. Now, you might be thinking, I work for an organization. I'm not important, or I'm not known, or whatever it is, but people get to know people. So look for your own name. Look for the people within your organization. Look for your organization name too, because LinkedIn has company pages, which are now called pages, for businesses, for organizations. So see if your name ranks. You obviously want your website to be there. You're going to see potentially your Facebook page, maybe your Twitter or YouTube, whatever you're using, but your LinkedIn page can show up for your organization, and the same for your name. So make sure what's showing up for your name is representing you well. Now, if you think that you don't need to bother about your own personal brand, if people do look for you, LinkedIn is free to use, so why not take advantage and use your profile to direct people off to your company page, your entity, for your organization. So it could be just a bouncing board for that. Now, when you do your homework to look for yourself, do an incognito search in Chrome or a private browsing sort of window in Safari, so that you've stripped away all the history and all the cookies and the things that are going to provide a biased view. So you want to be as unbiased as you can. And that's what I did in the previous example. Now, over 60% of people are using the mobile app. And whether you're using mobile or desktop, when you show up in search, you want to make sure that in seconds, your profile communicates the impact you're trying to make. So do you have a world-changing headline? Now, your headline is this piece of text under your name. And by default, when you add a role to the experience section, LinkedIn, there's a little tick box and you can update your headline to match. I always recommend people untick that because your headline should be your positioning statement. It's a thing that you would say to explain what you do, what difference you're trying to make. It could be about your particular role, but you might want to position yourself in terms of what your organization does. So make this impactful. So have a think about what that can look like. It could be around your expertise, the change you're trying to make. It could be your title, it could be your industry, and it could be your organization name tacked onto the end, because if you're trying to raise awareness for your organization, then absolutely that needs to be part of your headline. Now, when it comes to the rest of your profile, there are 5 areas that you want to focus on to be visible, have influence, and authority. So we start with the visuals. So this is your profile photo, and having a profile photo means that you're 21 times more likely to be clicked on according to LinkedIn. Plus, you build that trust. People want to see you. So take the time to have a photo that is you on a good day in business. So, that professional person that shows up to meetings, to work. Have a background image. Now, you can use tools to create that, tools like Canva, or you can just have an image. And it could be a photo of you doing what you do, or a photo of your organization doing what it does. It could be just purely branding to match your website with your logo and colors, that sort of thing. So it's a storytelling tool, and this is the way to visually tell your story. Number 2, the value you offer. So this is going to come through in the text. And the 3 key areas are your headline, which you've mentioned, that positioning statement full of keywords that people are looking for, the about section, which is your personal story, sort of meshed into your professional story. Why do you exist? Why not you actually why you exist, but why do you do what you do? Why did your organization exist? What do you love about it? If you change careers, why? What credibility do you have? What qualifications, what achievements have you had? Those sorts of things. And then your experience is the unpacking for your role. So in your role, what do you do? What does your organization do? And these should be written in the first person. Number 3, validation. So that's social proof part of things. So you can have skills on your profile which can be endorsed and rated. You can have recommendations from people. So who's willing to write your recommendation, and have you received reviews and testimonials elsewhere? How can you bring them into LinkedIn to add another layer of credibility, and accomplishments as well? Number 4, video, because video is super powerful. Now, video can be used in content, but it can also be pinned on your profile under the about section and also in the experience section. So you could use a video, maybe there's a video overview about your organization. Maybe it's a media piece. Maybe you're in the news, there's a snippet of video. Or maybe it's an introduction to you, to your profile, to you as an individual or your organization. So you can get really creative here with video. And finally, voice, the other V, is having a voice, finding your voice. Now, once again, it depends on if you're trying to build your own profile as a personal brand, or are you trying to build the exposure for your organization. But either way, to have influence, it comes down to having the right people see your profile and then discover your organization. So have a voice, because there are many reasons as to why that's important, because it's going to give you visibility, and I'm going to explain why in a moment. Now, your profile, that we've just touched on it briefly, you want to make sure your profile is optimized so that when it shows up in the Google results or in LinkedIn results, it represents you well, it represents your organization well. So you can do your own DIY audit, and I've got a process at very low cost that you can go through. You can also engage me to do it for you. So I provide reports on what you can be doing in your profile instantly. And of course, I also do profile writing, and I do training. I come into organizations and review entire organizations, so you can certainly engage help. But this is something you can do yourself following my process. Now, the importance of having a voice on LinkedIn and having your positioning well is the power of the network and the people that you connect to. So you want to think about who those people are, and this is why you want to connect to those people. So when you share a piece of content on LinkedIn, your first level connections will see this. This is the people that you've sent a connection request to or you've accepted. Now, if they engage with you, they're exposing your content to their network, their first level connections. Who are your second level connections? If those people then engage with your content, they're exposing it to their connections, who are actually your third level connections. So this is this circular approach. And this is quite powerful. And this is why you want to be sharing content on LinkedIn from time to time. Now, it's not something you have to do 10 times a day. That's too much. You might share something once to do a week, something really thoughtful, really relevant, and it's a great story. Maybe you're using some sort of visuals or video to really embed the message, and you're using all the right terminology. You're tagging the right people using hashtags and those sorts of technical aspects. But you don't need to share a lot of content on LinkedIn to reach people. You can also engage with other people's content as well to reach their network. So which kind of people do you want to have in your network then? You've got to think about who the influencers are of your ideal connections. So who do you work with? Now we'll call them clients, but who are the people that you work with? Who are the decision makers with these organizations? Who are the influencers of those people? Who you're surrounded by. It could be peers, it could be people that work in your organization, potential partners on projects, leaders, authorities, stakeholders, even friends, because you don't know who the friends know. You don't know who they've got in their network that you could reach. And of course, people you meet at the conference. So people you meet at Change the World event, you want to be connecting to because they may know the people that you know. So that's thinking about big picture, who to connect to. Now, how do you find them? Now, this is a bit that some people just have a profile and wait for people to come to them. But if you really want to take opportunity to really leverage LinkedIn, understand how to search properly. Now, I mentioned a term in the presentation, Boolean searching. This is an example of what it looks like, and it's something that I teach people in my training and coaching programs. So you want to be, if you're looking for a BDM or business development manager, there's a way to type that in to make sure that those people come up. And you want to be as specific as you can. So this is quite broad. So we've got business development manager or BDM and partnerships, and that's got 234,000 results, which is a lot of people. So we could be a bit more specific, but I just wanted to show the example of some of the features. So this is Boolean searching. Then we apply LinkedIn's filters. And there are many filters you can use, such as location, level of connection. So in this case, we've chosen Perth and we've chosen second degree connection, meaning we have a connection in common. You could choose other filters as well. And now the list has gone from 230,000 to now 740. Now, the more specific you get, the shorter this list, which means that we can then connect to these people, look at their profiles. 740 is still a big number to manage. And you can connect from here, but you're also not building that footprint with them because you're not leaving that footprint behind when you look at their profile. So you might want to go to their profile, do a bit of research before you connect. You might decide just to follow them. And keep in mind that these results are relative to you. So the second means they're second to me because I'm looking at them. So what do I mean by looking at their profile and finding out about them? So if we go to a profile, in this case we've picked Karen's because she's active on LinkedIn. I can see a bit about her. I can get a feel for her energy from her imagery, from her language, but I can also see what she cares about in her articles and activities section. I can see here that she is active. She is sharing articles. She is engaging with conversation here. And if I click this see all activity, I can now have a look. What does that look like? What does she like? What does she comment on? What does she share herself? And I can then engage with her. I can like it or I can react to it. I can comment on it, which is where the value is. I can look at her articles, which are long pieces of content. I can look at her posts where she's actually started a conversation. I can see if she's sharing documents as well. So her post, this is her last post here, which is a link to an article and there's her thoughts about it. I might simply respond to that based on what she said, or I might click on the article and read it myself. So it depends on how you operate. Or I might just be consuming this information to get an understanding as to what's important to Karen and maybe her organization. So it's a great research tool, just not on finding the people, but finding what they care about if they're active. So how do we network on LinkedIn? So I've mentioned a couple of things. You can simply like something. Now that's the easiest thing to do. It's a less impactful though, because it's just really a silent nod of agreement. A reaction where you can hit love, celebrate, curious or insightful is a bit a nod, still a silent nod, but a little bit more context. Whereas a comment is where the power is because a comment is conversation. And a comment, you want to make sure that you don't go in and just, buy our stuff, read our article, look at me. You want to be thinking about, well, how would you converse with someone in person and make it about them to extend that conversation, build that relationship so that you stand out. And then, you're building that influence with the person because you're being interested in them. So how do we go about connecting? So, like I said, a lot of people use the mobile app. And you can go to the person's profile and click the connect button, and that sends that default message that doesn't really have a lot of context or emotion. So it's much better. Now, well, if you're on someone's profile, they'll know because you'll get a notification saying that you've looked at their profile. But if you click the more, you've got the opportunity to personalize. So rather than hitting connect, go here and tell people why you want to connect. Mention something you read in their profile, something you saw them post, something that they said, maybe something in the news about their company, maybe an achievement for their organization, something like that, because then it's about them. So take the time to personalize. Now, to pull it all together, this is how you build a relationship with someone on LinkedIn. In order to change their world and increase your visibility, establish your authority and earn your influence. So work out who are the people that you want to connect to or build a relationship with. What do they look like? What criteria are you looking for? And search for them. Look at their profiles so that you're firstly leaving a footprint behind if you've got your settings turned on, and you can now research, get some context around them. Follow them. So in the previous screen, I'll just go back to that to show you, connect was here, more is here to get the personalized. Follow allows you to subscribe to their updates, but they don't see yours. So you might, in the first instance, follow them. Also go to their company page and follow their page, just so you're showing an interest in being in their environment and network. You might then go to their articles and activity and like or comment or react to their updates. Now, like I said, commenting is where the value is, but you don't want to comment on 10 things at once. Pick one, and then maybe repeat this process down a week later, a few weeks later, whatever. And at some point, you're going to want to connect to them, but you've got some context because you now know a little bit about them. You've done your research, you've got it in front of them. You might even find that they connect to you if you've looked at their profile, engaged with them, depending on how they use LinkedIn. Now, once you've connected with conversation, they're either going to ignore it if they don't use LinkedIn, or if they don't see a reason to connect, but hopefully they'll accept you. And they're either going to then accept, or they're going to respond to your message. Now, if they don't respond to your message, you then respond to them. So, do some sort of, I call it my welcome message, but think of what you're going to say to them that's not about you, not about selling your organization, looking for whatever you're looking for. Make it about them. Be interested in them. Now, if they've responded to your message with an actual personal message, brilliant, because now we've got a conversation happening. Once you're connected, you're going to see their updates in your home feed, so you can start engaging with their activity. Now, if you don't, because LinkedIn has an algorithm and it shows you what it thinks you're interested in, you can go to their profiles, go to their page, and engage with them. Keep in mind when you engage on their page, though, it might be their marketing person that's running the page. You might not necessarily be seen by the decision maker that you want to be seen by, unless you mention them or tag them. So always look at their profile as well as the page. Now, at some point, you might want to start engaging with them privately through messaging, and it might be because you want to set up a meeting. And then you might even pick up the phone. So engage. Activity is public, messaging is private, and at some point you're going to pick up and arrange that meeting, that call, that Zoom, whatever it is you're doing. So this is how you can build a relationship with someone to change their world. And as I mentioned, I have a 7-day challenge you can take. It's completely free. It's on my profile. You can find it in many places. You just sign up, and each day there are things to do on LinkedIn. So you're very welcome to give that a go. But of course, if you need some training in-house, that's also what I do. Now, we talked about networking in person when you're at an event or in a conversation. You've got on the app 2 great tools. So one is this QR code where one person shows their code and one person scans it, and immediately the profile comes up. Brilliant if you've got a very common name and you're hard to find, or you've got an unusual or difficult to spell name, or you just can't type, you're all thumbs. So the scanning just takes away that ability to, that confusion. So it's essentially a digital business card you've got in your phone. But if you go to their profile and connect with them without that introduction conversation, you might forget how you met them, or who you know them through, or whatever. So connect to them and then send them a message, and just anchor that little message. I met you at Change the World event. Love to hear you speak. Love to hear you whatever. Loved your opinion or whatever. So just so you know down the track. Now, when you're networking in a big room of people, and it could be an event, a conference, a networking group that you go to, or something else, you can use this feature called Nearby. Now, this first screenshot is the old way it used to look like, but I'm keeping this in because some people still have this. It hasn't necessarily rolled out. So you go to the My Network icon down the bottom of the app, and at the top you've got the Find Nearby that says off. You turn it on. But the update, which most people have, is you will see this. You will see this little blue circle. So you go to My Network, go to the blue circle, click on that. And the QR code reader is also here as well. But you've got the Find Nearby and you turn it on. And then you should see people in the room start popping up, and then you can look at their profiles, connect to them, or even go over and have a conversation with them because now you know they're in the room. So it's a really powerful tool. So we've really just covered the surface of LinkedIn. It's an iceberg, and we've just covered the peak. But hopefully I've got you thinking about how LinkedIn can be used in the marketing of your organization, in the networking, in the publishing. And we haven't really talked too much about publishing, but publishing content on LinkedIn that's indexed by Google. It's great for SEO. So it's a great tool, and it's free. Now, there is a premium version, which I have, and there are benefits to that, but you can get away with using the free version. So there's a lot you can do with the free version. So if you do need some training on LinkedIn, feel free to get in touch with me. Connect to me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Twitter if you like. And here's my website. And there's many resources and blogs about how to use LinkedIn and other tools effectively. But yeah, if you've got any questions, I love them because it gives me an opportunity to create some more content. So thanks very much for watching this quick video, and great to meet you at Change the World. And I look forward to seeing how you use LinkedIn to change the world. Thank you.